Hey everyone, hope we are live, and this is today's live stream as part of Prequel live sessions. AI tools for creators is the topic of today's discussion. Thank you all for joining. Feel free to use the comment section of this live stream. Tell us where you're from, where you're connecting from. Send this live to your 3 best friends, or your 3 worst friends, or your 3 exes. And we're just getting ready to connect to our today's guest, James, all the way from Seattle, US. We're seeing people from India, people sending melted face emojis. Keep that going. Someone says bye, daddy. We are here for our community event. We are super excited. I'm excited to be here. This is my first time hosting this. My name is Vlad. I work for Prequel. We are about to have a great live today, and we are actually just waiting for our friend James to connect. In the meantime, let me refresh who James is, and maybe some of you have seen this on our socials previously this week. He's a Seattle-based filmmaker who ventured into entrepreneurship several years ago. He founded his studio GerdeGotIt. His filmmaking skills are well established, but recently he forayed into AI animation, which catapulted him to social media stardom. His pieces amassed over 800 Instagram followers for him, 800,000, and sparked a global craze for these dance and Greek statues that he created with AI as video animation. Before AI, James worked in music videos. He worked with multiple artists from his native Seattle, and before we dive into this super exciting discussion, we are meeting our we need to talk about our rules for today, and so I'll share a bit of refresher on how our community events are run for those who are joining for the first time. So the rules are be active. Feel free to ask questions in the chat during the main discussion. And also we have a separate separate questions button at the bottom. So feel free to post your questions that will be stored there for us not to lose them. We don't condone any spam in the comments, so please don't spam, and don't use inappropriate language because kids may be watching. And share your opinion on whatever things you think we are discussing today, and we'll be sure to probably follow up. So hope everyone is settled for this, and let me invite James. Hey, James.
Hello.
Hi. How's it going?
Going good. How are you?
I'm as good as it could be, I guess. Finally meeting you, seeing you almost in person. Good to connect the name to the face. And how do you think how this feels right now? Do you do these lives yourself ever with other I don't know, brands or other partners?
No, what's funny, and I've said this a few times. I haven't since everything's like kind of blown up. I haven't gone live on Instagram at all. I did one interview with a YouTuber that who I actually watched a lot of tutorials from early on while I was learning a bunch of the AI stuff, and was a big fan of his. And so when he reached out to me, his name's Enigmatic E too. Really, really good guy. Great resources for anybody that kind of wants to learn some of the stuff that I do and be able to kind of put your own spin on it and get into that. He's great. I have an interview, long form interview over there. But aside from that, I haven't done a lot of talking. I mostly sit in my little apartment in Seattle and make stuff, and that's what I do.
Okay. So how about we just, without further ado, dive
Yeah.
in the discussion. So as we announced, we wanted to talk about AI technologies and using them for content creation. And we all know that in the past couple of years, there's been a spike in popularity after probably lenses, breakthrough features, and there's been all this uptick in people considering AI cool and powerful source for content. That a powerful source of making your content next level. How did you venture into the world of AI? Was it like, especially considering that you are sort of from a more organic, let's say, filmmaking, as far as I understand? What was the trajectory for you?
Right. So a couple of points there, just to start. I think the real boom that really started this for the mainstream with everybody came when DALL-E 2 came out, which was probably 4 or 5 months before Lensa came around, which is based off of Stable Diffusion, which is actually what I use for everything is Stable Diffusion, because it's open source. We have a lot of access to things. But early on, what got me into it was around that time with DALL-E, and a little bit before. There were some resources I used before that I don't remember the names of. They were really small, kind of like websites that I would just pull up on my phone and use. But those really, really primitive generative models were really fun for helping with treatments that I was making for short films and music videos and things like that, and a lot of client work stuff. If I was working on a music video for somebody, because I've been running a small video production company here for 5 years now, and if I needed to make a storyboard for somebody, it would be really helpful to be able to have some imagery to go along with it, even if it wasn't that great, but it kind of got what I wanted and I saw in my mind. So I would use these early primitive generative models to help get some imagery to go along with my treatments, so that I had something to pitch to clients.
Yeah.
And that was really helpful. And I still do that stuff. I still use that for treatments that I'm pitching to clients, although the technology's come a lot further. A $10 Midjourney subscription goes a long, long ways for stuff like that. And then after that, a really good friend of mine, Stephen Treba, he goes by Alter. You can see some videos with his music on my page. He's a phenomenal musician. Saw that I was into that stuff and told me that he was too, and sent me some links for a Google collab notebook called Deforum. And I had no idea what any of those words meant together. I was really confused. He told me that it was a Python code notebook and that it was for making animations with Stable Diffusion. And it's funny, if you go way, way back on my page, like you scroll all the way back, you can see me being like, here's day one, I'm playing with this new thing, I don't know what it is, and the stuff looks terrible. And this was just over a year ago. So
you've come a long way.
Yeah, well, very quickly I started to kind of pick up how to use that and figure some stuff out with it. And I had some minor success with that code notebook too, and learning some cool things before I eventually switched over to Alex's Warp Fusion, and that's where things really started to take off.
see. I think what's interesting is that you really like didn't shy away from like starting to document it from the day one, and just as you say, everyone can scroll back and see you even starting to play out with it, play around with it for the first time. Um, and did you like because you kind of break through with videos with animated AI assisted content, while a lot of people were like in the mainstream still focused on static images. Did you venture into video specifically as a strategy? Were any of your goals like being ahead of the curve, or like being the first to, or how did it come to be going into video
Yes.
specifically?
Yeah. So being ahead of the curve was for sure a big thing for me, but it was less with like being ahead of the curve with the social media stuff. Honestly, the Instagram stuff was all kind of a secondary thing. What it was I wanted to get good at this stuff because it would for two reasons. It was really fulfilling and it was really fun. I would get home of going out and I would go out and shoot all day and film, and I would go and I would make stuff for other people,
Right.
and I would come home and I could sit here and I could just make stuff for myself, and it was so interesting and engaging and so fun. At the same time, it was something that was really interesting from the perspective of like a VFX toolkit. So if I'm working on a music video, I can make these cool animations, I can add that to it. Maybe
Right.
somebody will want a visualizer from me. There's so many different realms that this was like a cool thing I could do. Um, it just so happened that as I started doing it, I started noticing that there weren't a lot of other people doing it on any social media platforms, and I had multiple people that do all sorts of different things in the entertainment space
Right.
tell me like, hey, if you just stick to this, something's going to come from it. Like this could get really really big really fast. And maybe like 8 9 months ago, I had a little bit of success with a couple reels doing like 100,000 when I was still doing deforum stuff, and I thought that was really cool. I got like 1,000 new followers, and it was like kind of a big deal
Yeah.
and was interesting. And that was
Huh.
when I had like 3,000 followers, and I thought it was really cool. But the statue stuff was, there was no way I could have expected that, and to the level it was, and just yeah, that definitely wasn't the goal. I didn't know that was going to happen, but I did do some strategical stuff once it did start to happen to be able to kind of push it as far as I could.
So, as if I understood correctly, there were people that encouraged you along the way to share your results publicly. What are their like? What has their reaction been to your success, or your? Did you ever go back to them and say, "Hey, thank you for the advice"?
Yeah, I absolutely have, and so many people have told me that like it was expected. It was only a matter of time. Um, and yeah, I have gone back and I've thanked a lot of people, people that gave me ideas along the way for things, and just it because it was such a cool moment, and my entire community out here rallied behind me. All of the people that made it possible for me to come home and work on this stuff all night, because I have been a full-time cinematographer for years now. I relied off of my client
Right.
base, my community, my friends out here that I work for and with.
Totally.
And so everybody kind of had a hand in being able to make something like this even possible, because if I couldn't survive off of my artwork and I had to go and work a full-time job, I never would have had time to do this.
Pursue your actual passion.
Yeah.
That's very inspiring when when people get to support each other, but also then they get to kind of give back in gratitude or whatever other things. And if by the way, if anyone's just connecting, we are here with James Gerde discussing AI tools in video production. So tune in. And on to the next question. So the dancing Greek stages that you did were a viral sensation. And what do you think, what was the actual impact on your, as you said, relationship with like clients, your actual career? How did that, like, did it make your checks higher? Did it make your client list longer? What was the quantifiable effects? If we
Um,
were to talk about the
yeah, well,
benefits such virality can bring.
yeah, well, the first thing I did was I had two regular weekly jobs that were, in my videography stuff. I had an editing job with a podcast where I would edit this podcast every week, and I had a nightclub job where I would go on the weekends and I would shoot little video recaps and take photos and do that. And those were the two like regular gigs I had. First thing I did was quit those. First thing I did was quit those.
Right.
I was like, I don't need to do those now. This is fine. Because that was the thing, is it's all about what I can it's always been what I can leverage, like what does my portfolio show. And when this started happening, my portfolio showed that I knew what I was talking about. That if I wanted to make something, not only did I knew that there was artistic merit to it, I knew that people cared about it, but I knew that a lot of people cared about it, and it was quantifiable. I could show it to people. I could show people my Instagram and say, hey, hire me because I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
And that and like on such a massive scale, like for 2 to 3 months, my content was the biggest thing on the internet. Even if so many people were reposting it and doing that stuff, that on my page it was about 200 million engagements in like 30 days. But it was reposted so many times that the actual number is so much higher than that. I can, to this day, like right now, I can walk around on the street and walk up to random people and say, hey, do you know about the like dancing Greek statue videos? And people are like, yeah, I've seen those. And that's to be able to get that kind of response where people just know it is huge for like industry and business stuff. So
absolutely,
very I think 2 days into everything taking off, I had 3,000 emails with gig requests. Wow. So yeah, and not that all of that went through, or a lot of it was not real anyway.
Have you read all of them though?
Oh, I got management. I got a marketing director. I built out my company. I didn't read all of them. I had people do it for me because I needed help. It was a lot. But yes, we did. It took a long time, but we filtered through everything. And are talking to a lot of the people that were in there, and I've had to catch up with a lot of people from it. But it took me from needing to go and hustle and find gigs every day to having a little bit more of a choice about that. And that's been the most quantifiable thing, is that there is no question whether I'm going to be able to get jobs. I can get work now. I don't have to go find it. It's just kind of there if I want to take it. And that's really cool because I've never had that before.
Kids, take notice. Stay in school, become creators, totally get jobs requests from all over the world. And do you think, like, do you ever feel like that specific domain of content, AI generative content, be it video, photo, do you ever feel like it's blowing over, or that we're approaching a threshold, or we're still riding up the wave? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it is. The initial wave of it is dead. It's never going to be as big as it was with what happened with me, at least not in its current form. It got people so excited and it was so huge. And that's as to be expected with any viral trend. It goes huge and worldwide, and then it dials into the people that are going to care about it for a much longer time. I still have a very dedicated base of people that like and enjoy and watch and share what I do. But it doesn't need to be, you know, the 200 million engagements in 30 days is an absurd number, you know. And that's what happens. People get really excited and then it goes in and out. However, there are, and everybody's going to have to wait a little bit to see it because we're still working on a bunch of things, but there are a lot of incredible new developments coming with AI animation that I've been on the ground floor for, because obviously with how big things have gotten, I've gotten in some pretty exciting rooms with people. And some of the tools being created right now it's unbelievable how good they are, and how close we're getting to like true animation with this stuff. They're just not ready yet, but I hope when that stuff comes out, we'll have another wave of things, because I think it'll get people really, really excited about, or it'll freak them out a little bit, or any of that. People will have reactions to this stuff when it's ready and we can actually start showing it off.
Right. You mentioned you got into some interesting rooms from your success based on that. Do you think that's something that happens a lot in, I don't know, post-production, video production world? Do people often get contacted by like technology makers, companies, like for early launches, early adoption of technology?
You know, I think it depends. It wasn't necessarily that I was contacted for that. Really what it is that I was blessed early on to work alongside some people that just so happened to be kind of building out a lot of this tech. I got connected, like I said, my friend that put me on to all of this, Steven, initially, who ended up kind of showing me the ropes for all this stuff a year ago, ended up one thing. Yeah, shout out to Steven. He's definitely not on here because he's still asleep right now, but good person. But he connected me when stuff started to take off for me. About a week before that, he stayed at my apartment for like 3 days, and we just made a bunch of AI stuff. But he, right after stuff took off, put me into a group chat with a bunch of the like top AI people. This is like, you know, it has people from different companies and stuff like that. And I kind of lurk. I don't really talk in there much, but like we did a whole introduction thing. They knew who I was. And one of them reached out to me, and we talked and ended up working on a big project together over the summer with, you know, I think, I didn't say it, nothing came of it, and I can't not say it, but we worked on a little project for will.i.am, from the Black Eyed Peas, which was really cool. Good friend, great person. But through that, we connected really heavily, and as they've started developing more tech stuff and doing more software stuff, I've gotten to spend more time with them because we developed a relationship and have wanted to talk, you know, more about future collaborations and things like that. So I think that it's not just that I get contacted because the stuff that I make is so different and interesting, and what, like, people love my stuff and they want to talk to me, but the deeper relationships are where you like actually start getting in rooms and doing stuff like that. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, and if you were to describe your current workflow, can you name like essential AI tools that you use? I don't know, for, of course, for content creation, but also maybe for ideas generation or for planning your schedule or whatever other creative related tasks, if you were to name.
For sure. You know, AI tools aside from generative stuff that I find really interesting. Obviously, I mostly sit with the generative animation stuff. That's what takes up most of my time and most of the resources on my computer. Which is great, and shout out Warp Fusion and shout out Alex for that, and go give him your money because he is an incredible coder and has put together one of the most magical things I've ever touched. So there's that. But if you, as far as other things go, GPT-4, premium subscription is great for a number of things.
Right.
Just yeah, and there's a lot of tools aside from that. Last night I was playing with the Meta AI a lot. I think it's really cool that we're seeing integration into other apps. There were some things it didn't do that I wish that it did, which reminded me of one that I think is really great. Circling back to kind of talking about Will.i.am, he has a wonderful AI integrated messaging app called FYI that has internal kind of chatbot and it's mostly based around kind of having work chats. So if you have like projects you're working on with people, you can have these set up integrated chats. And like one of the things that the AI can do is kind of like after a long day and a whole bunch of conversations, you can ask it to recap the day and it'll bullet point out like what you talked about that day and essentially note take for you. And I think that sort of thing is really cool and useful because I'm often working on projects with
a little assistant.
Yeah. I think
always.
The assistant type thing is a really helpful thing, and I like seeing that get integrated more. But overall, I mean, realistically, I sit in the generative space the most because I just don't have that much time for to like the amount of stuff I'm learning daily every day. I just got into using Comfy UI, which is, to anybody out there, if you go look it up, it'll look like a mess. It's the node-based coding, so everything's in nodes that are all put together, and you have to arrange things yourself and move things around. It's one of the most confusing, weird things I've ever touched, but it gives you so much freedom in all of this, and it's really cool. So my workflow is all over the place. I just like to experiment and have fun. Yeah,
it's Wild West out there, so we all do. Yeah. We gotta do with AI. Is there any community that you follow or any pages that you follow for like info on new AI tools or whatever? I don't know, Discord pages, Instagram pages.
So there's the on the Discord stuff. I'm in a like private server with like some of the top creators. And I hear a lot about a lot of the stuff from them, specifically, just because of that's kind of the community that I exist in. But on the public side and stuff that you can hop into, Matt Wolf is a phenomenal, like, so I got hip to him because not only did he do a video that talked about me a lot, on Warp, but he also, there was like a Twitter post he did with a video he made based off of like doing the statue thing and basing it off of what I did. And yeah, so I almost daily as he puts out videos watch his stuff because he keeps very up on like the new things that are coming out. That's like the best resource for that.
Shut up, Matt. Do you have any advice for people who are just setting out to follow like young videographers, young CGI animators, young AI video makers? If you had like one sentence advice to them, what would it be?
If it's not fun, don't do it.
Follow your dream kids, basically.
Yeah, well, no.
Follow your vision.
Just like, no, I mean, even more baseline than that. This is supposed to be fun. We're making art, and I know that the term with art comes pretty loaded when we're talking about generative stuff at this point. But I'm an artist. I make music. I'm a filmmaker. I'm a photographer.
Right.
I just like to make things. And the biggest rule is that like at the point that it stops being fun, address that in yourself. Figure out why it's not fun. And we're trying. I got into this because I don't want to just have a regular job where I have to go work 8 hours a day doing something that I hate. I got into this because everything inside of me tells me that like I need to be enjoying what I'm doing in life. And I've worked tirelessly. I don't shut it off. I work every day, all day. It was 4 a.m. last night. So what, 6 hours ago?
Yeah.
And I was still up working on this stuff, knowing that we were gonna do this, knowing all of that. I live and breathe this because I love it so much, and I'm having the most fun every day.
Fun-oriented making is generally, I think, a good approach. So let's all remember to have fun, kids. There are a couple of questions from the audience that we could address also. Would you advise people to open new pages for their creative endeavors, or posting on the personal pages that have already? Do you think there is any merit to doing either?
You know, it's funny. I think I deleted it at this point, but I definitely made an AI page, and this was like 8-9 months ago, like well before everything took off. I made an AI page, and I posted like 3 times to it and got 0 engagement and nothing happening, and was like, this isn't working. Early on, when I started filling up my page with only AI stuff, I had a lot of people come to me and be like, but you're a videographer, and now you're not showing off any of your videography on your Instagram. Is that hurting your business? And I was like, at the time I was like, no, because most of my gigs were word of mouth. They weren't coming from people finding me on Instagram.
Right.
So I kind of used Instagram as a business card, but even at that, I could just send people links to videos I had made if they asked. So it really didn't matter to me starting with the following that I already had meant that I already had a bunch of people there that supported me and wanted to see the cool things that I made. So I don't think it matters that much. I think that the thing that matters most is just consistency. And for me, at least, running more than one page would make it really hard for me to be consistent.
Right, absolutely. I agree with you. Another question from the audience from Chang Star. May I ask you, what graphic card do you use for AI work?
So I have a 3090, 24 gigs of VRAM, pretty fast. I'd love a 4090, quite a bit more expensive. But the 3090 specifically, because the way that I like to render out natively, it comes out to, I render out at full HD at 1080p, which you kind of need the boosted VRAM for. You can get away, with using a smaller card and rendering out smaller sizes. But for what I'm doing, having the 24 gigs of VRAM is really helpful. On that, if you want to get into this stuff, you can always just rent GPUs off of Google Collab. It's, it costs money, but you can do it. I did that for a long time. So
yeah, virtual machines, I think a lot of people are using them. Do you think you have any critical insight or like advice regarding strategy for creators? I know it feels to you probably that going viral is kind of organic, but if you were to turn it into like which buttons to push to do it, do you think there's any more or less reliable ways to do it these days, or reliable attitudes to go viral?
It's super random. It is absolutely super random. You never know what's going to hit with what audience and go what way and how far it's going to go. But the biggest thing for that is consistency and originality. Don't base how you feel off your numbers with stuff. Don't let it discourage you and keep you from pushing forward with it.
Right.
A week before stuff a week before the first one that took off and did 30 million for me, I was getting like 700 views on my posts. So like consistently 700 views. Like the stuff that I was making was doing bad. And that's just kind of how it is sometimes. It ebbs and flows. And it's not a representation of your work. And it's not even really a representation of how much people care about your work, because if only 700 people have seen it, people haven't really seen it.
Yeah.
There's a lot more people out there. So, like I said, early on, I had a couple posts like a year ago do like 100,000 views, and that happened for like 2 weeks. I had some really good numbers for like 2 weeks, and I got like 1,000 new followers. And then I dropped back down to where I was getting 1,000 views on everything I posted for 6 months. And then, you know, stuff started taking off again. So it just keep going. Just, you know,
keep going, keep posting, consistency, conviction. What are the other C words to keep here? That's very encouraging and inspiring, I think, for anyone who's working in the creative field. I can relate myself. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this, and thank you for all these very thought out answers to these questions. Thank you to our audience for giving us the questions and for sending the heart emojis. Is there maybe, do you have any closing remarks or any thoughts that you might have missed out on? Do you by the way, I don't know, do you use Prequel anyway in your process?
Unfortunately not. I've been hip to Prequel for a long time, but I'm not really much of a phone editor person. You know, I have it's kind of what happens when you have a really big, expensive computer. Is I have the full Adobe suite and DaVinci Resolve, and I use all of these weird AI code notebooks. Yeah. And it's really exciting seeing that you guys are bringing a bunch of AI tools to people who haven't, that aren't able to experience them as easily, because these code notebooks that I use are not easy to use. They're really frustrating. You need a lot of computing power.
Costs a lot of money. Yeah.
Costs a lot of money. You know, there's a lot of issues with that. So being able to hop in on your phone, that's how I originally got hip to all the AI stuff, was I could hop on a website on my phone and generate a few things, and it was cool and interesting and fun. And it pushed me to do all the rest that I'm doing. So I think accessibility is really, really important. So I'm really grateful for what you do for that.
We will develop a desktop version just for you. We'll hit you up when it's happening for sure. Please don't take that as a legally binding statement. Thank you so much to everyone, and have a great rest of the day, James. And everyone, remember to share this with your friends and family and loved ones. I don't know. And definitely check out James' page for more content of his, and we'll definitely be staying in touch with him in the future. And follow Prequel if you don't yet. And we are thrilled to do these lives, so stay tuned for next announcements. And thank you, James. And without further ado, have a good day and bye. Thank you, everyone, and see you soon.